Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Good to Know Shreveport Bossier. This is a podcast. We showcase all the good things, the positive things happening around the Arklatex. My name is Jeff Byenfor. Over here is my co-host, and I use the term loosely, Paul Reeser. He's a member of the Committee of 100. He used to fry some mean French fries at Sonic, right?
That's
Sonic
right.
Became a multimillionaire, and yet he makes me do this, and I'm his caddy. Every podcast, we focus on topics and initiatives that do have, as we said, positive impacts around the community. New episodes are available every other Wednesday, and you can find Good to Know wherever you listen to your podcast. As always, Mr. Reeser, the honors go to you to introduce our special guests. I'll take a nap till you finally get around to saying their names.
Well, thank you for the honor, Jeff, and it is an honor. I do not take it lightly. I appreciate it
clearly
every week.
not. Great gravity with which you do these things.
Well, actually, today, now I'm laughing. No, it's going to be fun, super fun. So this is a very eye-opening episode for me.
Okay.
For people of our demographic, you and me, more mature.
What are you saying?
I use that term
Saying
lightly.
I'm all old? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I didn't want to come out and say it, but we're kind of old. And
Okay.
I don't think a lot about the younger, like the super young kids. You probably do. You think about everything, Jeff.
Yeah, well, pretty much, yeah, because I'm young at heart.
That's true. But I don't think about as much as I should, just about some of the challenges of our youngest and most vulnerable. Vulnerable? That's a tough word for me this morning.
Many words are tough for you, but go on.
The population of kids. There's big challenges that sometimes I forget about. But there's an organization called Volunteers for Youth Justice, and they don't forget about it. They're helping to take care of kids in all these tough situations, whether it's hunger or getting to school or.
See what I tell you.
It just goes on and on. But they're bringing so much just help to the situation. So here to talk about all the things that Volunteer for Youth Justice is doing, Executive Director Kelli Todd and executive of everything else at the station, Erin Woods.
Stop that. You can't fit that on a card.
Well, thank you. Hey, no, thank y'all for coming today, because what y'all do is so important, and it's just amazing to hear about all these things.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes, ma'am.
We do. Our youth is our youth and families. That is what we are here to deal with. And we deal with kids in the school system, the foster care system, and the juvenile justice system. So it touches a lot of different areas in our community. One thing where we've really made a huge impact over the years is our truancy program. We work with the kindergartner through fifth grade, the K through fifth grade. And a lot of people think these kids all go to school, but they don't. Kindergartners and first grades miss a lot of school, and then they get behind, and then by the time they get to third and fourth grade, they can't read and write.
And we can't really blame the kids for this situation. So that's why it's so important to give them help. And even my kids, who you wouldn't think would get into any trouble, they benefited.
Well, I know you, so I'm not sure.
They benefited from the Youth Justice Program, actually.
What program did they go to?
Well, Teen Court.
Teen Court. That is one of our favorite programs.
Mine too.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
yeah.
It saved us a lot of money, probably, and it's put my kids back on the straight and narrow early on.
Very good. That's what we're here to do.
So explain Teen Court, because not only were they, members, they went on and became volunteers because it was so impactful for them.
Absolutely. So Teen Court is a program where we train teenagers to become like prosecutors, attorneys, jurors, different things, and we train them, and then they hear their peers' cases. So when a teenager gets into first-time trouble, nothing major, a misdemeanor, they can come to teen court and be judged by their peers. And those peers are pretty tough now. I've seen them try to hand down sentences, and I'm like, wow, this is harsh. But but they'll give them community service. They'll make them go to a class. They make them write apology letters to people, to the store owners if it was a theft, different things like that. But the most impactful, it is.
Yeah.
It's very creative.
Very creative. The most impactful thing about it is a lot of these volunteers that we train go on to become attorneys. We have a board member that's on our board now that was in Teen Court. She became an attorney, and she's our BYJ board member now.
Wow,
Well, they start out on the wrong side. Like my daughter had a speeding ticket. My son, I don't remember what he did. I think he broke something at school. Well, it's too late for your first offense, but your first offense. So kids make a mistake. And man, she got in front of, they go to the actual courtroom.
They do.
And Judge Erin, man, he told her the full force of the law, kind of straightened her out. But the kids will give a stronger, once they realize they have what are some things you said they give? Community service. They give hours.
And they'll make them write apology letters. If it's something at school, they may make them stay after school with the teacher and help her. I mean, different
They get to
things.
see the
They're
court
very creative.
system and how it works.
Right.
So are these? So your kids were involved, but are these kids that normally just fall through the cracks, or are they all kids?
Well, what it does, it keeps them from going into the juvenile justice system, because once you get in there with a docket number and a record, it's hard to get out. So what it does, when they complete our teen court, all their charges get dismissed. So it's a nice diversion intervention program.
And that's what we're all about, really, truly, is the intervention and diversion, because if we can catch them now, we're not going to have that issue down the road. And, talking to Paul a little bit before this segment, he was saying that both of his children, after going through teen court, then went and got involved themselves and then learned the ins and out of our judicial system. And they have that going forward. And, what are they doing now, may I ask?
Well, actually, my daughter is an art therapist in Chicago, the mean streets, and my son's a computer scientist. So
they've gone on to be really productive members
believe it
of
or not,
society.
despite their father's poor influence. But Erin, you talked a lot yesterday about diversion.
Yes.
So kind of explain to me what diversion means to you and this organization and how you're helping.
Diversion is just like you would think, water's coming down, it's flowing pretty hard. You throw up a roadblock to try and get it back where you want it going, correct? So that's where we come in with all of our different programs. And Kelli talked about this briefly when we first started. One of our great programs is our truancy program. We call it TASK. If you look at the numbers in our area, before COVID, I want to say it was something like 300 to 400 kids in that K-5 age group in Caddo Parish alone were having 10 plus missed, unexcused days at school. That's a lot. That's really hard to catch up from. Then you get into the COVID years and it skyrockets. At one point we were around 3,500, almost 4,000 kids in one parish with 10 plus unexcused absences. And we're not talking about a 16-year-old that skipped school to go joyriding. We're talking second grade where we're learning the basics.
That's correct. And it is a parental issue at this point. But after COVID, it just spiked because everything shut down. People got used to not going to school. Families didn't value school.
Right. So instead of sending them to court and taking up the juvenile court's time and talking about everything that's going on there, we get in there and figure it out. 9 times out of 10, it's not just because the parents are like, they don't need an education. He's 8. He can go work the hard streets, right?
Right.
It could be they don't have enough money for school supplies and they are embarrassed to send their kid to school without them. There's been instances where there were multiple kids in a home sharing a uniform. I mean, what?
Wow.
In this day and age. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah. So we try to fix those problems before it becomes a legal issue, get them back on the right path because they really do want to do right.
They do.
So how'd you deal with it during the COVID years when you spiked with so many kids?
We took a different approach, and they weren't going to school, so we started going to the house and checking on them, and checking on, see what was going on. And a lot of times, like she said, they didn't have resources to get to school, and they were scared to, COVID, they were scared to go to school. They had watched family members die. Right. And so it was a 2-year spike in truancy. Yeah. Now we've got it back under control, I believe, but we work very hard on getting these kids into school.
There's so many areas you work on. You think 6 distinct programs? Okay, we can't do justice to all 6, but what are the 6 areas that you work on?
So we work, CASA is Court-Appointed Special Advocates. That's where we advocate for children in foster care. We train volunteers. If anybody wants to volunteer, please contact Erin.
We'd love it.
Please.
Or Jeff.
So we train volunteers to advocate for the best interest of the child in the court system. So we're trying to find safe and stable housing for kids in our community that are in foster care. A lot of people think there's not a lot of foster care issues in our community. We served 750 kids last year in foster care. Wow. So our goal is to get in there quickly, start interviewing relatives, meeting with their doctors, just trying to find them somewhere to stay so they're with somebody familiar. We have about 150 CASA volunteers. that doesn't equal the 750 kids we had to serve.
Right.
So we're always looking for people to advocate.
Yeah.
Do,
we have a
do
waiting
some
list.
do some of these advocates take more than one child on?
They will, but it's tough.
Yeah,
It's a
I
lot of
bet.
work. It's not an easy volunteer job. I mean,
Right.
you are going to meet with the child, the foster parent, the parents, the schools. And then you have to write court reports to the judge, giving your
Right.
recommendations.
And
It's an-
cases will take a year.
yeah, they take a year to 2 years to close out.
If a person is sensitive to foster children and they say, wow, this is a need, I don't think that I could do that. I couldn't take them on. This is an opportunity to get really involved and to help without actually becoming a full foster parent.
Correct. Right. You're not.
Yeah.
They're not moving in with you. You know.
Yeah, but
type thing.
you're doing a very major part in helping and assisting the kid.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I
and-
heard a story last week, and it just broke my heart. It was a 16-year-old girl that was going through our CASA program, and in the year that she was a part of that program, she had 5 different agents from, her help me out here.
DCFS workers?
Yes, her social worker and a different lawyer every time she showed up in court.
Wow.
So our CASA that was assigned to her was her only constant. And I can't imagine it as a 16-year-old, much less, a 7-year-old walking into a courtroom and not knowing what to expect. But to do it without someone there that you have a connection with, it's got to be terrifying.
That's how I got involved with this organization. I was actually teaching school at Captain Treve in 2001, and I started volunteering in 2004 with VYJ.
Wow.
Once I saw a job opening up, I've been here ever since. And just the mission of our organization, the impact we make on families.
Well, it is interesting because it's called volunteers, and there are a few paid employees, but it's majority of volunteers.
There's a
yes.
lot of paid employees
Really?
now. We've grown. That's why
Okay,
the
great.
programs. So all the staff members, they supervise the volunteers. The volunteers, they need guidance and they need assistance. So we supervise volunteers, but not all of our programs are volunteer based, but a lot of them are.
It shows how much impact a volunteer can have. You just wanted to go volunteer, and now you run the company.
Correct.
You got to be careful.
You got to be careful what you step into.
So
She
you
has
deal
grown
you deal
it.
mostly with the kids, but do you deal with parents too?
We
Oh,
do.
yeah.
We know how important it is. You can't just deal with the kid if you're going to send them back home to the parent, and nothing
Right.
changes. So a lot of our diversion classes that we run, Power of Choice, Stamp Out Shoplifting, and our School Fight program, they all involve the parent component to it. So
Okay.
while the child's in class, the parent's also in class.
Oh.
You can't leave the parent out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said, you go home and nothing changes.
Right.
Our
How do,
parents,
how do the I'm sorry?
go ahead.
Well, how do the parents? How do they? Are they resistant to this?
At first they are, especially with our Power of Choice classes, because they're at nighttime and it interferes the 6 to 8 o'clock
Yeah.
schedule. But once they get in there and they're with another group of parents dealing with the same issues, they love it. By the
Really?
third class, they have to come to 6 classes. By the third class, they're just talking so many good things together, and they're
Nice.
collaborating together, and it's been really effective. They enjoy it.
Good.
Well, you're not alone.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. You're not alone, and you're finding that connection at the same time you're learning. Because one of the things that has struck me is that so many of the issues that we face are generational. So, in answer to your question, with all the different programs, we have the truancy, we have our youth programs, we've got the diversion programs that you were just talking about, our CASA programs. Our TBRI program, where we actually even go into CCC and we work with the inmates,
It's
because when they
TBRI.
get out, it's trust-based relational intervention, and it's a trauma-based focus where you work with, our goal is obviously to work with the children, and when they get overstimulated or they get dysregulated, we teach them how to center. Because at that point, then you can eliminate some of the bad behaviors that people may have issue with. You can do that as an adult too. Everybody has got trauma. It's how you learn how to deal with it that makes the difference.
Here's mine. I mean,
Right? Look at Paul. So, you go into CCC and you teach these inmates as well. When they come out, guess what? They're ready to actually be a parent to their child and
And
build that connection.
CCD is what?
CCC is in Caddo Correctional.
Caddo Correctional
Correctional
Center.
Center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew it was that, but I couldn't think of the words.
So a lot of the kids we deal with, their parents are incarcerated. So if we can go in there, we were given the tools to caregivers, foster parents, but we weren't giving it to the bio parents who eventually may end up getting custody back of their child. So it's a
Yeah.
place where we have a captive audience.
so you're well, yeah, but you're also dealing with a a bunch of different groups here. I mean,
Yes.
the kids, the foster parents, the biological parents. I mean, that's a lot to juggle.
It is a lot.
Yeah. How do you do it?
Well,
Volunteers, baby.
volunteers and a great staff. We have a
Okay.
great staff base. Everyone is mission driven, and we're all here for the same reason, and we're here to help.
How rewarding is it when you see one of these kids that might be going the wrong way come back and not go the wrong way?
We get to see it. That is what makes it at the end of the day. We get to see it every week. There's some kid that turns it around and makes a huge impact.
Well, tell me a success story about someone that's really gone on and thrived through this program.
Okay. We have a truancy case. I'll go truancy, and I'll tell you a couple of stories. These are cases I've actually been involved with. We had a truancy case where the girl was not going to pass high school. So when they get to middle high, they go to our FINS department, which is another program we run, Families in Needs of Services.
Okay.
Right.
That's where you deal with the children who are ungovernable.
Okay.
So they're running away, skipping school. They're the issue. And so their parents can bring them in, and we put together a service plan for them to get back on track. So we had a FINS kid, actually was interviewed by one of y'all, Johnette Magner.
Yeah.
She came out and did an interview. We're gonna fail, wouldn't go to school for anyone, got hooked up with our FINS department. She ended up graduating. She ended up getting, he helped her write some scholarships, ended up gonna go to college. And that's a big deal for this kid
Huge.
who wasn't gonna graduate. CASA's, I mean, I could have so many stories about our CASA program because I had so many cases when I was a CASA. But probably my favorite story as a kid, he was one of my first cases. This kid had been living on the streets for 4 or 5 years. Nobody in his family wanted him. He'd bounced from uncle to brother. His mom was in jail. He got in a really good foster home, and I was with him for 6 years. He ended up going into the military, into the Navy, and he still communicates with me regularly and is thriving, married with kids.
Nice.
Awesome.
That kind of stuff makes it worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's great to know that there are some specific examples definitely doing some good, and that gives a volunteer the ability to know you're making a difference, and even if we're just doing one person's life. But what are we doing for the whole community? Is there a way to kind of start to improve the overall community with this program?
Probably the best thing we've done is the
the
harbor.
The harbor?
And
The
she
harbor.
will not take credit for it, but I'm going to give it, this was a labor of love by her.
Okay.
8 years it took her to find the correct building and the correct alignment of the stars, but we now have a building here in Shreveport that houses not only all of our programs, but multiple others all in one place. And I hate to say one-stop shop, but it truly is. And she's the woman behind it.
It did take me 8 years.
So the harbor is a building.
It's a building on Ninth Street, 3004 Ninth Street, across from the Walmart at Shreve City.
Okay.
Nice bus line there. So we moved all of our programs, as Erin said, along with all the other good high quality nonprofits in our area. So that the goal is when a family walks in, because you can come in, I can tell you need to go to counseling, but if I send you across town,
Yeah.
how likely
Yeah.
is it they're going to make
Right.
it?
Yeah.
Not very likely.
We've got it right there.
So we've got it right there. When a
Great.
family comes in, everything is there. We have all of our programs. We have a food bank. We have a uniform closet for those kids who can't afford uniforms.
Wow.
We have extended foster care programs. We have domestic violence. We have everything is there, and we take walk-ins, school referrals, probation referrals. Anybody in the community can refer. So that is something we have done to really.
It's amazing.
It's
And
amazing.
she hates
Good
it when I
job.
brag on her, but I have to.
Is this a
So as the
government-
community as a whole, absolutely.
Yeah, that's making a big
That
impact.
sounds, I mean, that's pretty fantastic. I mean, this is something
Good
that
job.
you got to feel in your heart to get involved in.
I'm
right?
very passionate about the harbor.
Wow,
I've
I
worked
can
on
tell.
it, like I said, for 8 years, and a lot of meetings and begging. But it is a collaboration with
Begging's good sometimes.
with the Caddo Parish School Board. Actually, gave us the building after 8 years of asking for
Okay.
any building they would give us.
Yeah.
The Caddo Parish Commission and the city and law enforcement all are collaborating partners
Wow, that's
for
great.
this. So it's not a governmental agency. It's really Volunteers for Youth Justice, but they all partnered with us.
That's what I was wondering. So it's not a government organization. It's just who runs it? How is it
The nonprofit?
organized? Yeah.
The
we have a
nonprofit?
board.
In 1981, we started this organization, and it was actually founded, well, the first program out of it was brought back from some ladies at First Presbyterian Church who had gone to a conference and saw this intervention program. And then they formed this nonprofit in 1981, and it started with one program and one volunteer and one employee.
Wow.
And it just grew. So we have a board of directors that governs it. I'm the executive director. All of our programs have directors, so it's run by
How many volunteers you got?
total,
Total.
I'm going to go with, it changes daily,
Sure.
around 250.
250.
If
And
you
you
count.
got to go recruit all these people.
Yes.
I
do.
personally don't, but
You?
a lot of
But that
we
is-
have
that's a
recruiters and
team.
trainers.
Okay, I was going to
Yeah.
say, right, you get one volunteer, they talk to the next person, and
And we do a lot of, we go to every event. We're out in the community trying to make people aware of what we do so that they can learn about all the opportunities we have where they can volunteer.
so when you approach a volunteer to maybe get into doing some of this kind of work, what's the approach? I mean, do you say, hey, do you want to help a kid, or is that it?
Absolutely. Well, 100%. I mean,
Okay.
you know, you have to have a heart for it.
Yeah.
Because like we talked about earlier, you know, these cases, you know, some of them are tough. Let's just be real. And it is a true time commitment. Now, we do have some volunteer opportunities, you know, obviously day of events, whether it's our CASA's Superhero Run or our Gumbo Gladiators event that we do each spring. But we have our Gems and Gents mentoring program where you get matched up with a kid and you're supposed to have at least 4 touches a month with that individual. You know, 2 of them may be phone, but we really want you to, you know, get with the child at least once a month and do something together, because it's what a mentor does.
Sure.
All kinds of different opportunities. We invite you to go to our website if you want to check that out, because literally, I mean, we haven't even made it through the list of all the programs yet. That's how many
Yeah.
volunteers
Right.
there
It's
are.
a fantastic website.
So it's vyjla.org.
And Erin has not told you guys this yet, but the reason she got involved with us, she volunteered for our TBRI program.
I was a TBRI volunteer. In fact, my very first individual that I worked with will be a senior this year in a high school here in Caddo Parish. Obviously, you know, we need to keep, you know, everything confidential. But when I tell you the things that this individual went through, and make your hair stand on end. And to know that they are now going to graduate high school, very involved in the different programs there. When you're talking about, you know, the satisfaction you get from it, I mean, I will be there when she walks across the stage for graduation. And it will make my heart probably happier than hers. I don't know.
Well, I have friends that volunteer just to go do homework, help kids do homework. And they say it's one of the most fulfilling things they do. So what does it look like for a volunteer? If someone says, I think I want to help out. What does that training look like? How do they start? What do they find when they come to your organization, to the what do you call it, the harbor?
The harbor.
Yeah.
It's hard to narrow that down because there's so many volunteer opportunities. But for CASA and the TBRI Advocate, they go through a 30-hour training program, 15 hours in class, 15 hours outside of class. And then they're paired with like a supervisor to guide them through their case. But I will say it's 20 to 25 hours. I'm not going to minimize it. Of
It's
work.
a commitment.
It's a commitment because you are the voice for this kid in everything.
So, I
So
mean, it's not just like, I'm going to help out, let's go to the movies.
Right.
That's not like that at all.
Right.
Yeah.
But then if you wanted to become a mentor where you're not having to write court reports and find relative placements.
You can do
and
the
not-
Gems and Gents program.
That's 2 hours a month. I mean, you know, 2 to 3 hours a month, depending on what you and your kid plan to do. If you want to be teen court, well, you know about that because your kids, you know, that's.
Little jailbirds on their got diverted. They were diverted.
They were
They were
diverted.
not jailbirds. So it really depends. And as she said, we have some day of events.
So many opportunities.
So many opportunities where people can. We have a lot of groups that just volunteer to run our superhero run or come organize our uniform closet at the harbor. Just different things we try to make.
If you call, we will find something for you.
And it's an opportunity to work with someone that actually makes a difference and
Yes.
that does a really good job in the community. So,
And I will say this, I want to brag on the organization
Come on.
in that, you know, especially for our donors, 96 cents from every single dollar goes directly to the kids. Only 4% goes to admin costs. So I would like
Wow.
to think that we're very, very
Efficient.
good stewards of, you know,
Wow.
the donations that are made to us from our community partners.
Absolutely.
So what, I mean, you've mentioned so many, we haven't got through all the programs, though, you said yet, so let's finish
Well, we touched
that
on a
part.
lot of them.
Okay.
What we
I'll
missed?
touch on a few. Probably our most popular this time of year, unfortunately, is our conflict resolution program. So any kid in Caddo Parish who gets in a school fight, which we all know that's pretty
See,
common.
when I was a kid, that just didn't happen, but
Well, they do.
it's different now. I know.
So every kid that gets in a school fight gets suspended. Okay. They can come to our conflict resolution class. We sit down with the two fighters. We work out different ways they could have resolved their conflict. They're allowed to return to school the next day and serve the rest of their time in school suspension. So they're not just sitting at home.
Is
Yeah,
this
yeah.
something that you have to, obviously, that's to be worked out with the school board, that they allow this kind of a program to?
This is their
This is their program?
Well, this is our program that they actually fund for
Okay,
us to
I
run.
see.
They need it
Right.
for their.
Okay.
They don't want all these kids. We would have
Right.
1,000 kids at the juvenile justice
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
complex
Makes sense.
about school fights. And
Yeah.
do you know what our most popular school fight is? Middle school girls
Really?
over boys.
Who knew?
Middle school girls.
Yeah.
Social media, that's the biggest trigger, you know.
I hate to, just don't get me started.
I know.
just-
And
I
they
can't
film,
stand it.
they plan these fights, they film them, they,
Oh,
Really?
Wow.
They
It's like
share
Fight
'em.
Club.
yeah,
That's not.
It's terrible. I shouldn't be laughing about that.
no.
But you were.
I was. That just shows you how my kids just barely were diverged from becoming horrible people coming from me.
Diverged? Okay.
That's the word, right?
Diverged.
Divergent.
Okay.
Diversion.
I thought diverted.
Diversion.
They were diverted.
Isn't that a movie? What?
I think it was. Now that you
Yeah.
mentioned that. Divergent? Yeah.
So, like I say, I don't know. I think we're about to wrap up. Are you getting the thing in your ears? I just want to know.
We've got a couple minutes.
So, what are some of your biggest fundraisers if people want to get involved that are coming up? You have them year round. I think the gumbo thing comes around.
Right,
And then,
yeah. Gumbo Gladiators is probably the one that people know us most for. And that will be back on Saturday, March 8th next year. We'll be back in Festival Plaza. And gosh, we had over 50 pots of gumbo, I want to say, last year. We're definitely looking to grow that even more this year. If you want to sign up, you can do that now. In fact, we are looking at some pretty exciting additions, I think, this year. So, toying with the idea, can't confirm it yet. There might be jambalaya involved
Oh,
this
no.
year.
oh,
Oh no!
Paul's a good jambalaya guy. I know that.
I love some jambalaya.
Hey, I'm gonna go out there and say it. I love pastelaya. Thank you very much. I know
I
that
love
doesn't make me
pastelaya.
Well, you're
very
quite
popular.
welcome, as a matter of fact. All right, yeah, we're going to wrap this up here in a minute or so. You gave your website address once. Go ahead and give that again.
Yes, it's vyjla.org.
vyjla.org. So anybody that wants to learn about your programs or wants to volunteer, that's the place to go.
Volunteers for Youth Justice, LA.org. Yes.
So y'all are making a huge impact. What can the community do to help you out the most?
Volunteer.
And
Volunteer.
honestly, if you don't have time or you can't make a donation, spread the word on our events. Go follow us on Facebook and Instagram. It doesn't cost you a penny. Share it with your friends. We need that kind of grassroots marketing. Just putting that message in front of somebody that may not know about us and need it, you could be changing a life doing it that way as well.
But you're good with either a volunteer help or donation.
Absolutely.
Or community awareness, spreading the word. A lot of families don't know about the
Yeah.
harbor. You didn't know
Hitting
about the harbor.
share
I did
is a
not.
I
big
didn't know.
thing.
It's been a big deal.
And a lot of people don't know there's so many kids in our communities. Even Bossier City, South Bossier City.
Oh, 100%.
These people are, a lot of folks don't live there very long. They're constantly moving is why they go in and out of school, right? What's the challenge with that? Is that
They're very transient
very
here.
transient? So they might live in a hotel for 2 weeks.
Correct.
So there's so many folks that are transient, moving around from school to school every couple of weeks. There's such a challenge. There's such a need. So I appreciate y'all's heart for it. I mean,
Thank
it's very
you.
inspiring.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We're
Yeah.
glad to be here.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kelli and Erin, Executive Director, Director of everything else.
Right. I like that.
I like that though. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to pin.
Okay, we appreciate y'all being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm not sure I appreciate you, but I'm glad you're here anyway.
Come on. Thank you, Jeff.
All right, thanks for being here, everybody. This has been another edition of Good to Know. You can catch it wherever you get your podcasts.
That was almost a compliment from Jeff.
No, I didn't mean it that way.
Oh, well. Next time, folks.